Sorry if it looks dark. It looks dark to me, but we'll see. I'm not going to mess around with trying to get any lights out. I've got everything set up as good as it's going to be for today. First live feed of the new year. And I've got something that disappointed me. We're going to talk about it in a second. I found my garrote bracelet. We're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. So not new gear, just something we haven't seen in a while. And if you happen to see something flying by the screen, I do apologize. We have got a horrible infestation of little black flies from somewhere. We're not the only ones. All the neighbors are saying it. We don't know where it came from. Some of them I think are coming from the potting soil that my wife got, but we're going to talk about a handful of things. First and foremost, hopefully you guys have noticed that the content is in a higher format than it was before. And if this is not bright enough, I apologize. It's just going to have to stay that way because, well, I'm not going to get studio lights out for a live feed. Please drop a like if you're here. I see that there's 3 of you here. Not anywhere near as many people as I would like to see, but content has been coming up that's in 4K and it's more clear. Some of it is being filmed differently. Some of it's still being filmed on the same devices. I've changed the way I'm editing and things like that, and I'm doing everything in 4K. So if you do have YouTube Premium, you can watch it in 4K. And I think it definitely is making a difference on the clarity of the videos. Not necessarily live feeds. You guys aren't going to see a big change in live feeds because they are still done 100% on my phone. But I have been using this camera, and it is incredible. I've gotten a lot of feedback from some people that use these on how I should use it, how it should be set up, things I can and can't do with it, what to expect, what not to expect. But I'm filming everything in 4K, not only on my phone for some of the close-up stuff, but there's other stuff that you guys are seeing from different, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm filming some of it with this. And I'm figuring out focal length and things like that. I do have diopter lenses and things, but this is the newest addition to what we've got going on. I did film a couple videos with it. I had to scrub some videos. If you watched a video of me talking about that, I had to refilm some stuff. It was because the settings on this got screwed up. So the settings on the new camera got screwed up. There was a firmware update. I should have just left it be. It wasn't a required thing. You have to connect it to an app to do the update. Well, I did do the firmware update. When I did the firmware update, it changed all the settings, and I had some really kind of grainy, crappy video coming out of what is a very, very high performance camera. And if you're just joining, please double tap the screen, drop a like. It brings more people to the live feed. But this thing is incredible. It uses a Leica lens. I can film all the way up to 8K. I've gotten comfortable using it and starting to filter that in on some of the videos where you're going to see new clarity and things on that. There may be like double action shots where this is filming at an angle because it is an action cam, so it doesn't have like an autofocus. It's a set focal length, so it's not going to be something where I can like be at the tabletop. For the tabletop, we're going to stick with the other things we're doing, but I did, like I said, upgrade the filming and things like that. And guys, let me know if I fixed my audio issue. I am going to walk in, and I can't read that, and unless you're going to translate it. So this isn't a GoPro. It may look like a GoPro. There's a link to this down below if you guys are interested in one of these. I do have an affiliate link with them. It's Insta360. This is their Ace Pro. I've had GoPros that I've dealt with before. They always overheat. They never quite do what I want. So this is something that's getting added to. Oh, thanks. Great. I'm pretty sure I have a clue what I'm talking about. But this doesn't have an autofocus. So for the tabletop, I have an adapter to put diopters and things like that to shorten the focal length so I can get in and focus. And just playing with that and figuring it out has been time consuming. But yeah, I'm going to use this for like secondary shots, background shots, action shots, and things like that where the focal length being farther away, where you still get, I don't got to be like that. I'm just saying, like, you're not going to get, I'm saying if you're not going to put it up in English, then I'm not going to be able to fucking read what you're saying. You're not going to get a response from me if you're putting things up in Arabic with a bunch of emojis. So I don't got to be like that. I can be. You have entered into my garage. You chose to stop by this live feed. Not trying to be a dick, but I'm a dick. What do you want? So at any rate, hang on a second. Tell me if the audio is still clear. I was testing it, and I think I figured out what the problem was. I believe I have a bad wire. I believe I have a bad wire. Oh, I can't even make coffee. I can't even make coffee right now because there's a problem with the breaker that runs the kitchen counter island area, so none of the outlets out there work. So I would have to bring the coffee pot, either put the coffee pot in the living room, or I would have to bring the coffee pot out here. I have not. So at any rate, yeah, the new camera is working great for specific things, but not necessarily. There are still some problems with audio conversion and things like that. And so a lot of times this is going to be used for establishing shots, background shots, if we go places, which I'm planning on taking some knives up on the side of the mountain and doing some testing and things up there, like how easy is it to carry it up the side of a mountain, how easy does it carry, things like that. So we also have I don't give a shit about Kendrick Lamar. This is a knife channel. It's not a rap battle fucking channel, things like that. It's a knife channel. That's the other thing. New year, new gear, new year, not putting up with the trolls. I don't know if you guys follow Scab. Scab over at Choir Boys Cutlery has said that he's trying to be a better person in New Year. I'm just going to go ahead and stop trying to be as nice as I am to everyone. Because there's a lot of times people come into these live feeds and it's just ridiculous. So at any rate, you did see this before the end of the year. This is the large Espada. I just did a video where I took this apart. You can see the mechanism inside a triad lock. If you're here, please double tap the screen and drop a like. It brings more people. At any rate, so this thing is pretty cool. I did a video on how to smooth out the action, and this thing is so much smoother than it was before when I first got it. The stonewash that on it, the stonewash that was on it, the stonewash that was on it was really, really coarse. And so, hang on a second, I'm doing something here. Anyway, the stonewash that was on it was really, really coarse. And it is really coarse. It's an attractive stonewash. It's an attractive finish. But the problem was that the tang, where the lock rides, the rounded area where that lock bar rides, it was adding a lot of friction. And so I did a video where I take this apart and I polish the... You know what we're going to try and do here? I'm going to try and move this to a different angle. I may have to reestablish the connection with the microphone because I want to sit in my chair because my knee hurts because I'm old. So the that might give you better lighting as well. The issue with the smoothness on this was 100% where the lock bar rides on the tang of the blade. Yeah, it's the Cold Steel large Espada. I have the XL coming because, well, I drank a bunch of rum on New Year's Eve and I bought one. So when that lock bar that's here rubs on that rounded tang of the blade, the heel of the end of the blade before it drops in, the stonewash was causing a lot of friction. And so if you watch the video that went up, I think yesterday morning was when I put that one up. I take this knife apart and I polish that area nice and use some polishing compound and things like that. And it absolutely smoothed it out. Now, I mean, over time, it's going to do it on its own. Like my buddy's Cold Steel Raja 2 is way smoother than this one, but he's had this a lot longer. And the finish that was on this was a lot, it was a blast finish, like a fine blast finish. The stone wash that's on this one, let's turn it around so you can see it. The stone wash that's on this one is a much coarser finish. And it was definitely causing some issues. Have I ever seen the Civivi Quibbit? I have seen it. I don't own one. I've never had one on the channel for review. I did not, it was not a knife that I really liked. It's not a bad knife. It's just not a knife I liked. Speaking of a knife that I didn't like, new year, new gear. I did a short about it. So I can't make coffee, so I'm drinking. Luckily, the refrigerator runs on a different circuit. The landlord's sending somebody out to fix the breaker box. I don't know, we were using the air fryer the day before yesterday, or no, yesterday, and just bang, everything shut off. So that the entire island where all of the appliances, run off of, like the air fryer, just the small, like little, small kitchen appliances, that breaker is dead. It's burned up, and the guy is coming out to replace that breaker today. So I can't even have coffee. I was never interested. So you're talking about the Quibbit. Hang on a second. I need my reading glasses. I do this every time, and then I get a headache like 20 minutes into the live feed because I'm trying to read these. The Quibbit is a banger. Ron Dobbins and Dobbins, how's your day going? My day's going pretty well. My daughter started her, this is her first day of the new quarter at college. So I took her to the trolley station. My wife went to LA. She hit a piece of wood. She sent me pictures, and we have to make an insurance claim. So my day could be going better, I guess. Give me a second. I'm going to change out the microphone. Just a moment. Forgot to charge that one. I looked down and I was like, that one is almost dead. So maybe I'll have to take a look at the Quibbit again. It just wasn't one that appealed to me. But back to what I was saying. So a cold steel triad lock, this is an exception to the rule in the knife world. Let me grab this one. So I like frame locks, and I like button locks, and I like a lot of the other locks. But the way these locks work, they over time are going to wear out, get weaker, start to they start to lose their lock up. They'll get blade play and things like that. I can honestly say I think the triad lock is the only lock that over time just gets better. Because of the way it's built. And I had the video where I took it apart. Maybe we'll take this apart tomorrow and explain it. So if you're interested in that, tune in tomorrow, because I'll probably do a live feed where I film from above and I show you the internals of this lock. Because the way this lock works, because it's technically a back lock. It's not much different than what you get on your Spyderco backlocks. It's basically the same, but with an additional piece that makes the lock significantly stronger. And over time, this lock gets smoother and it gets stronger because more of the lock bar is dropping down in. And so, what was this? Frito Feet. I have that. Let's see here. I like the NOS. The NOS energy drinks are pretty good. I typically don't. I got that on my way to take my daughter to campus, and because I can't make coffee right now. At any rate, the lock on these is super, super strong because this additional pin that's in here that accepts force both directions, and it basically it doesn't allow the lock to deform the way a typical back lock does. And it doesn't deform like this does, where that lock bar is going to continue to work its way over, and then you get where it doesn't marry up anymore, and then you get the typical blade play going this way. Let's call lock rock. Blade play going this way is typically a matter of your pivot. But the triad lock just continues. Guess what? I've seen those pictures. Remember me saying that I was tired of being nice? So she's talking about there's all these videos of people showing us these are particles in the fuck. Yeah, water particles. Stop being retarded. It's water particles. I even filmed a video showing the same thing with a flashlight. I don't know if you know this. Fog is just really fine particles of water. And if you shine a light on them, they move around and you can see them. These are the same people that think the earth is fucking flat. So you are not even getting a timeout. There we go. I just picked up the EDZ Vanax knife. I don't know what the EDZ Vanax knife is. Hawk slings. Yeah. So at any rate, what I was getting to, I talked about how good this is. So this is a great knife. And I did a video about this. And a bunch of folks reached out to me on Instagram and on X and in the comments. And they're like, well, if you like this, you should try the Kershaw Strata XL. Because it's based off of a Navaja as well. Right? So this is based off of a Spanish Navaja, and I have a Spanish Navaja coming. It's a small one. I didn't want to get a great big Spanish Navaja and have laying around. I found one that was fairly affordable. It's a small one. It's a little bit smaller than this. To do the comparison of the traditional Navaja versus what the this versus you know, traditional versus the Espada here, which is a modern rendering. Sorry, but a lot of folks were like, you should try out the Strata XL, and I'm like, well, that looks a lot like, I mean, this looks more like a traditional Navaja than this does. Do you like ball bearing grip style locks? You mean ball bearing like lock bar with the detent? I don't exactly know what you're talking about, referring to. I've never heard of anything called that. I'm not, like, I just don't know what you're speaking of. So I ordered this because, like I said, New Year's Eve, rum, lots of stuff. I ordered a couple things and I was like, I need stuff for the channel anyway. And I haven't had a Kershaw on the channel for a long time. And I talk crap about Kershaw because I really don't like them. And then this came in and I'm like, well, we'll give it a shot. So this is the Strata XL. And I absolutely hate this. I hate everything about it. It's too thin. Matter of fact, you guys see that? I may do a video where I put on cut-proof gloves and break this blade. There is no reason. Here's the thing. I've for years I've said, like, overbuilt knives, if they're overbuilt for a purpose, are okay. I understand the cold steel stuff. The cold steel Spartan, I can take that. I can put it in my pack. I don't need anything else. The cold steel Raja 2, this thing is a tank. Their knives are built to be beat on. If you're gonna make a knife this big, look at that. Look how thin that blade is. So, oh, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't like those as much. But it's not just the fact that the blade is, like, this blade is probably, I have a tool that I bought a long time ago that I forget about and I should be using for things like this as soon as I figure out where the fuck I put it. And guys, if you're here, I don't do this, I don't say it as often as I should, but I do have super chats available. And the fact that I've been cursing and berating the trolls already means that there's a good likelihood that this will not be monetized. Where is, there it is. It's in the drawer here. My calipers. I'd really appreciate it if you can't drop a super chat, just drop a like. Dropping likes is great. So blade stock thickness, let's see here. Blade stock thickness on, why is that in millimeters? What did I use this for? So blade stock thickness, I use freedom units. I'm not Canadian. So this is 0.165. Okay, you know what, I need to zero that. What is the knife in the thumbnail? I don't remember. I believe it was this one. Yeah, let me zero that. That's what's wrong. So 0.15 blade stock thickness. .13 blade stock thickness on this. But it's not so much that the blades, it's not so much the blade stock thickness on this. It's how much material they remove in the grind. Now, I do like a nice thin slicey knife. Don't get me wrong. This knife will be good for a lot of things. In my opinion, it just doesn't need to be this big because then you start getting into some issues. But the blade stock on this stays thicker longer than this. This just feels, I don't know, it just feels so thin compared. It doesn't, I mean, really, it's thinner. Metric is king, designed to work so much easier than base. Tell me that all you want. I don't metric. I use freedom units. It's the only thing we kept from the British that was any good. So on top of the fact that the blade, I think, is too thin, this thing is really, it narrows down here way more. Here, let's compare it to the Espada. So handle narrows down, and that may be a problem when I get the actual Navaja in. But I don't think so because I think it's round. So the thing with knife shapes, knife handles, I mean, is if you're going to go skinny this way, you gotta have a little bit more material this way. Either it's thicker to account for how narrow it is this way, or it's thicker this way to account for how narrow it is this way. You see what I'm saying? So the knives that I like are either broader this way and then thin this way, or exactly the opposite. They're thin this way and then thicker handle material. This is thin both ways. It's thin both ways. And so it's so thin. And then the lock bar access is weird. It's just not a comfortable knife. And it feels, not only does it look cheap, and I don't know what it is about it that looks cheap. It looks cheap, but it also feels cheap. Get this knife, people. My grandson got a Rat 1 for Christmas. Okay, Kurt. It flew over, it flew apart, sending the blade across the room. Never seen it happen in real life. I hate the Rat 1. Ontario Knife Company, they have apparently pulled themselves out of closure, and they got sold. I haven't seen any of the new ones. I didn't like the other ones. Typically, when a knife company goes out of business, then gets bought, and that brand gets resurrected by another company, it's usually not very good. So I'm not saying that they're going to be worse than the one I have. But what I'm saying is historically, that's what happens. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? So I never liked the Rat one. So SRM, I have not had an SRM. Have you seen the new knives SOG is coming out with? I have not. I like SOG. Here's the thing. For years, I've said this. I like some of SOG's designs. It's never their designs that I have a problem with. Never had a problem with their designs. They always have innovative and cool designs. I loved the idea of the seal pup. As a matter of fact, I had one. It's the execution. It was solid plastic handles. They were hollow. It just felt shitty. They were like clamshelled on, and you could see the seam. They were like injection molded, I should say. And you could see the seam. They never took off all the flanging, the press stuff from the steel was shitty. It wasn't very good. I've never had good experiences with SOG knives. Like I said, beautiful designs, lacking in execution. That's always been my thing. And guys, I've got to run in here. Tell me if you maintain the same level of audio, because if not, I have to reconnect my microphone. I don't know if I screwed that up when I changed things, but I have to run in here because I forgot to take my medicine this morning. So if the audio has stayed pretty stable, then we're good. Rat one opened in my pocket and actually cut into my leg. Did the audio change when I walked away? I mean, I know it's going to change slightly because of the angle that I'm addressing the lavalier, which I should probably move up further. Perfect audio. Beautiful. I think I figured out what the problem is. There's a loose wire in the connector that connects the microphones to my phone. The transmitter, or I'm sorry, the receiver unit for... I'm trying to think if I've had an SRM. I guarantee I've had SRM knives. It sounds so familiar. So what was happening was there was a loose wire in this connection because I have power, and unlike, so the receiver for my microphones connects directly to this with an adapter. So I don't ever have problems with the audio on that. But as a matter of fact, sometimes I will have audio because I'm filming two things at the same time. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll record audio on all three devices. I'll record audio on this, I'll record audio on that, and I'll record audio on the microphone itself, and then I will find which one is the best and then sync those files. But the microphone connects directly to this microphone with an adapter, with this camera with an adapter and a cord. Just connects directly on with a cold shoe, no problem. With the phone, there's an issue of an adapter that I have to use to connect. If I'm doing something like this where I need to have the battery running, like I need to not run it off a battery, I have to run it, the power into it, and then the connect and the wire. There was a loose wire. So at any rate, so oh, so bitter, so bitter. But back to what I was saying. New year, new gear. Tomorrow, well, maybe that's what we'll see what time it arrives. Tomorrow, let's see. When is it supposed to be here? And I need to do something. I need to put this in Do Not Disturb. I will. There we go. I don't want my phone to ring. If it rings, I can do it on this one. So let me check. I have the XL version of this coming. So the XL version of this is coming because New Year's Eve, I drank a lot. So if you guys don't know, my father, so I don't know how many of you guys remember back, my father passed away on Christmas Day. And it really fucked Christmas up for me. So usually around the 23rd, because I don't drink very much these days. I had pretty much cut back on all of the alcohol consumption and stuff. As a matter of fact, I have not drank since New Year's Eve. I drank a lot of rum between the 23rd and into the 2nd, right, into the afternoon of the 1st. And so that's why you haven't seen live feeds. I've just basically been a drunk sailor since about the 23rd. And so I got really drunk on New Year's Eve and I bought a bunch of stuff. And I was like, you know, I could return it, this and that, or I could try and cancel it. A couple of them I did cancel, but I was like, damn it. But so the XL Espada is coming. I will tell you, this is the first knife. I said it in a short. This is the first knife I've purchased in years that I honestly thought about returning. But because it's here and people seem to love it when I do, let's see, is it still supposed to be, it may be here today. If it's here today, I don't know. It's coming via FedEx. I love Blade HQ. They're so good about sending tracking like as soon as they pack it. Tuesday by end of day. We might not get to see it in the live feed if I do a live feed tomorrow. But at any rate, I have not been so disappointed. But the fact is, you guys love it when I bash a knife. And here's the thing. This is just par for the course. I've never liked, except with the exception of maybe 2 knives. I've never liked any of the Kershaw knives. Never once have I liked one of their knives, except for the chive and the leak in the chive. They're basically the same knife. And I had one that I didn't hate. I didn't love it. I had the Ken Onion Blur. And I'm like, that's, you know, I'm like, why every other knife they've ever made just irritates me. This just drives me insane. And I mean, it's just not good. And then on top of it, that R-tarded clip. Now, here's the nice thing. It doesn't really get in your way, but still it stands up kind of. That just feels. I disagree. You would be surprised. Now, I mean, if you're doing a lot of things, I have to agree to an extent, but also disagree, Caden. I have several knives that are every bit as thin. As a matter of fact, I designed a knife that is every bit as thin. And I have, oh, let's see, where's it at? I have one that a guy brought me back. He bought another one and he brought it back and he was like, he broke the tip off. But he told me he told me what he did and he said it was very, very hard. This knife has every bit as thin a tip. This is my sea snake design with Artisan. It has every bit as thin a tip, and I've done a lot of stuff with this knife. And I haven't bent the tip, I haven't deformed the tip or anything like that. If you're somebody that's going to use a knife to pry with, which you shouldn't do in the first place, then yes, I agree. But the fact is, if you're using a knife properly, you're probably not going to have a problem. Now, if you drop this, yes, it's going to be a pain. You're going to screw it up. But that goes with pretty much any knife. If you drop a knife and land it on the tip on concrete or something like that, you're going to have a problem. Now, if you want something like this was my fixed blade knife of the year. This is much more robust. This is that Night Guard by TCal Knives, the Night Guard 2.0. And it's got the same type of tip, but it's nowhere near as fragile because there's a lot more material. They did thin it down a little bit by adding that swedge that goes all the way down. This thing's great. This was my fixed blade knife of the year, and it's great. But a lot of knives have got that super thin, let me see. It's got a really thin distal taper, like this one does. This, let me turn the camera around for you. This thing has got a very thin tip because it transitions down. Full flat grinds typically have a very pronounced distal taper where it's thicker here and then down the tip. And a distal taper is nice because it allows for good piercing at the tip. If you're looking for some, I love this knife. Even though the tip on this is really thin, I haven't had any problems, and still factory edge on this. Let me see if I can move in. This has got beeswax on it because it is in crewware, and crewware will rust. But this, I cannot believe this. The factory edge on this knife has lasted longer than any knife I've had. And I mean, I have used, let me clean it up. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. With my rubbing alcohol spray, I'll clean the beeswax off of it. I have no joke used this so much that I have scuffed the finish on the blade and yet to need to resharpen it. And I mean, like, let me see if I can, like, heavily. Can you see these lines on it? It's been used enough to cut cardboard and things like that, that there's scuff marks on it. And yet the edge on this is still the factory edge. I have done nothing other than strop this. I think I hit it on a ceramic. Where the hell's all my paper? There it is. I have done nothing with this other than, I think I hit it on a ceramic hone, on a ceramic plate, my ultrafine ceramic plate, maybe once or twice, just a quick pass and then a strop. I've done nothing with this. I have not fully resharpened this. I cannot believe how long the edge has lasted on this. I just need to sit down and cut it. Do I prefer a flat blade or a curve? So are you talking curve like it has a bit of a belly? It just depends. I am a super big fan, the real DH or DJ row. So I'm a big fan of I am a super big fan of the Warrenclyffe style blade. They're very, very good for self-defense. They're very good for day-to-day tasks. They're really good for opening packages, cutting cardboard. If you work on an industrial site for cutting visqueen and things like that, all the way down to the tip, you can lay filter fabric down and cut through it. They're easy to sharpen. They're easy to strop. They're easy to maintain because of their blade shape. However, you can't do everything with them, which is why I have multiple. It's always nice for certain things. This knife would be great for something where you need to do sweeping cuts. This would be great for self-defense as well, because a sweeping cut is devastating. But you have a flat where you can do those things that you can do, and then you have belly. I like a combination of both a lot of times. I do like a drop point. I like a clip point for certain things. This is a knife that is, yes, a beautiful pocket knife. However, having grown up as a hunter, I will tell you that this is probably one of the most useful blades to somebody that's going to be out and about and possibly hunting. You can do a lot of things with this. It does have that flat area, but because it's got this clip point where the tip is swept back and not forward leaning. No, let's not. So that tip is not as forward leaning. You have a much less chance with this while you're skinning an animal of puncturing a gut. Is it California compliant? I can carry any one of these knives in California. You don't want to punch into a gut, pop a gut while you're you don't want to hit a gut while you're skinning out an animal, and that allows you to get around and clean out and cut, and it's easier to remove the pelt with a blade like this. Now this is just a day-to-day pocket knife that a lot of people like, and I love it, but it's it just depends on what you're doing. Tracy, I don't need your comments. Can you stop? Are you almost out of pennies? Because I'm tired of you putting your 2 cents in. What? I'm just kidding. I was trying to find what I was thinking. When you do live feeds, I don't know if you've ever done a live feed, Stacy. It's off the cuff. You do this quite impromptu. Yeah, and like Choir Boy's Cutlery there, he's trying to be nicer to people in the new year. And I have decided to just say, fuck it, and be myself. I'm still a nice guy. But so something like this, you still do have an area of flat, you have an area of belly. The nice thing about California knife laws, everybody thinks that California is kind of crazy. Somebody was saying something about this being huge. Is it California compliant? California absolutely has no rule for the California state. Some cities do. So the state of California has no requirement, no regulation on the size of a knife you can carry. I know you're a nice person, but you said you were going to try to be nicer to people, Scab. I'm saying I'm not. I can carry any size fixed blade I want in San Diego, a lot of the upper areas of Ooh, Tracy. Tracy may have stepped in it. That wasn't me. That wasn't me. Tracy may have stepped in it. Ooh, Tracy. I didn't say anything. That wasn't me. I did not report anything. So at any rate, I forget what I was saying now. I forget what topic we got off on. So there's an XL version of this. And anybody that wants to know how big of a guy I am, this is 12 inches overall. Like we've talked about this. This is a 12-inch overall knife. It still looks big, but it does not look as big in my hands as it does. I've handed this to people. It's like, oh, some of my friends, and they're like, fuck, I forget how big you are. I'll hand it to them, and they're like, it almost looks like a normal size knife in your hand sometimes. But there is a 15-inch version of this knife that is arriving sometime tomorrow. And I'm actually kind of excited about it. I did not think I would like this. This is new year, new gear. I did not think that I would like this as much as I did. I was really surprised about how easy it carries. And to tell you, help me with what some numbers mean on the stainless steel prices. On stainless steel pieces. Okay. There is a site you can go to. I'm not trying to blow you off, because even having been a knife maker, it is confusing. Like knowing the difference between S90V, S125V, S110V, S35VN, S30, like all of those, like 9CR18 MOV, what all of that means, right? There's a site you can go to. Knife Steel Nerds, I think, has one. There's a handful of sites, and you can look it up, and it will tell you the composition. It will tell you the heat treat matrix of what the recommended, and other heat treat recommendations. It'll tell you the properties of the steel. Is it high stainless? Is it a tool steel? Will it rust? Things like that. You can find out that information on there. It's hard to navigate. And that's why when I found a steel I liked, I just kept making knives in that. I didn't like working with S125V, but I definitely saw like S125V as like one of the top tier steels. It comes annealed before heat treat at 55 Rockwell. I own knives that after heat treat are at 55 or 60 Rockwell, some cheaper knives. That's after hardening. So it just depends. You got to figure out what you want in your knife, what you're going to make it, and find those. And if you're just looking for it for knives, in knives, then that would be something that you're going to navigate. Like if you see a knife that's there you go. I was like, holy crap, am I going to have to think about taking I was looking at it, I was like, I'll wait and I'll see, because I'm not going to, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not even going to I'm not going to tolerate the trolls anymore. I'm just not. And I'm not going to be nice about it anymore either. So you guys are going to get to see some special stuff. But that means that the live feeds are not going to be monetized. So if you would like to support the channel, you absolutely can drop a super chat. Like that's great. I love the fact we're probably going to get a bunch of people here because it's on the shorts feed. Let's see. Where are we at here? Bro, this is a video you should do, or a series that would be dope. Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to find the information. And a lot of companies will make knives in a lot of different materials. Like you can get Spyderco, for example. You can get this knife in like 8 different steels. If you have a steel that you specifically like I love this Crewware. Like I said, I've had this since April. We're coming up on a year that I've had this knife. I have not had to sharpen it. That's still the factory edge. So if you're looking for some, now, when you get something that has crazy edge retention like that, there's some mitigating factors you have to look at. This rusts pretty easily, right? It's not, when you get something, when you get one thing, a lot of times you get it's like we used to joke about, like the triangle, good Chinese buffet, pick 2. You can't get everything out of it. So it depends. Like that's one of the things. If you get something that's really hard, sometimes it's brittle. Think of glass. You can't drill a hole through glass. It's super, super hard. It's like the upper echelon of hardness, but it's so brittle. I could do it, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, Scab. I absolutely could do that. I could go through and talk about steels and the metallurgy and stuff like that, but I'm nowhere near as good at it as Laren is, and Laren has a whole series of videos about that, and nowhere near as good as my friend Cliff Stamp ever was, because a lot of times Cliff was the guy that I would go to ask these questions. So I could do it, but I think I could do it in a way that it would be easier for people to understand, but the fact is, the information's out there, and there's so many people that, oh, hey, look, another idiot has arrived. Look, another idiot has left. Just gotta love the artards that just come in and, yeah, I know. I'm just saying, I don't think, here's the thing with my content. I have to be able to do it justice. If there's a subject that I feel I can do it in a way that is as good as other people that have already done it, then absolutely, yes, I'll do it. If it's outside of the review scope. However, I, having been in the military, know that there are people that are better at things than me, and as we do in the military, you defer to someone that's better at it because you want the best end result. I do understand content is king, but content for content's sake that is not beneficial, I feel, can be detrimental. Even if it is minorly beneficial, if it's not as beneficial as other content, then people would get that content and go, because people will find one video, and that's what they base all of their thoughts and processes on. People will do that. And if I do that video and then they go back and they're like, well, this is what Mike Emler said, and they're like, well, yeah, but he was wrong, then I look stupid. So it would be better for the knife. It would be better for my community and my viewers for me to defer to somebody that's better about it, or reach out to that person and see if they would like to come on and do a live feed, like you and I are eventually going to do. Eventually, someday. I don't know when, but we're eventually going to do one of these together. I've done some videos laying out basics on steel. Here's the thing. You got several different categories. You have carbon steel, you have tool steel, and you have the air-cooled super steels. So you have steels that are, some steels are oil quenched, things like that. And everyone's going to have different properties. Typically, your carbon steels are going to have a higher carbide content, right? Which is going to be good for a lot of things. And you're going to give up a lot of rust resistance. Think of your grandma's kitchen knives. And then you have, this wasn't the content. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, we'll do a video about it. My thoughts on Balisongs are, if you like them, that's great. It's just like my opinion on everything. If you like them, that's great. For me, I find them to be useless. They're a toy. That's all they are. And I'm not opposed to that. I have friends that love them. They use them as fidget toys. I have fidget toys. I have those things that I use to, that nervous energy. I don't fidget with knives. So I really don't like, thank you, Todd. I'm going to go ahead and go one step further. There we go. Just block them. Rusty, how do you maintain them? That's a good question. I have started using beeswax on steels that are prone to rust. If you have a carbon steel knife or something more like a tool steel or like D2 that are susceptible to rust, they're on that verge of being stainless, but not quite, so they're susceptible to a little bit patina and rust. If you want to, the best thing I've found so far has simply been, you can get these on Amazon. You can use my Amazon store down below to get them. Boat zipper and snap lube. It is simply a tube of beeswax. Rub it on the blade, wipe it down. It's waterproof. It's easy to apply. It's easy to carry. You can just put it in your pocket. This, I got 3 of these for $5. Now, you could easily just go get a Burt Bees beeswax chapstick, maybe less, maybe about the same, but they're not expensive. It's just simply boat zipper and snap lube. You can get them on Amazon. It's as simple to apply as anything. Was this? Hey, gay bitches. Well, maybe you should have not put it where you did. So I see them as an art piece and agree that as a blade are pretty. What are we? Oh, we're talking about Balisongs. I don't like them. I think of them as about the same as these. I'm not a big OTF guy. The reason these are out, I cleaned them up. These got cleaned. I own these, but I find OTFs to be silly. A lot of times you can't carry them. Like I can't carry this in San Diego. It's legal for me to own it. So it's legal for me to have at my house, but they don't fall within the rules of the rules of regulation in California right now. But also the problem you have to remember is just because maybe California makes it legal, other municipalities could go, nope, still can't have them. So that's always the big thing. Like you can look up state laws. Like I said, here in California, there's no law against me carrying this knife. 12 and a quarter inches overall. There's nothing against me carrying. I carry it almost daily these days, right? However, if I go to Los Angeles, I can't carry this because they have, I think, 3-inch blade length max, right? 3 inches. Yeah, so it's 3 inches in Los Angeles. I think in San Francisco, it might even be less than that. But if you go to Northern California, you can carry, now fixed blades. I can carry any fixed blade I want in, if someone was making, sir, from Saudi Arabia, I will get back to that question. But here in San Diego, I can carry a fixed blade anywhere I go. And as a matter of fact, I carry this. I took this off to sit down. I carry this. Scab's seen this. If he's still here, he knows what knife this is. He had this at his house for a while. It's an incredible knife. I carry this all the time. The rule is, though, however, well, thank you very much, the real DJ Rojo. Rojo? Rojo? I don't know. This is an incredible little knife. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Guys, like I said, I probably have gotten this live feed demonetized by now with just the way that I've been treating the Oh, Tracy, you're trying it again. Let's see. YouTube may interact. So I carry this daily. I was born with a stutter, by the way, Tracy. So if you want to be a dickhead, I'm going to tell you right now. Here we go. Bye, Tracy. Bye. Eat a bag of dicks. You know that bag of dicks you've been saving? You can go eat them now. At any rate, like I was saying, dropping a super chat. I carry this daily. And as long as I don't conceal this, as long as it's out where everyone can see it, in California, in San Diego, I legally can carry this. I just found out recently, I legally can carry this. I thought that dagger laws in California prevented me from carrying this knife. I was told by several reputable individuals that I can carry this anywhere I want. I'm probably not going to because, you know, a lot of times you get arrested for like the assumption of things. So I'm probably not going to risk it. I can carry that. I'll tell you what I do carry. And as a matter of fact, carried it to Walmart 3 days ago because I completely forgot I was wearing it. Where is my other? There it is. I carried this into Walmart. I blocked Tracy. I carried this into Walmart. Oh, Tracy, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Oh. Tracy has found the intersection of Fuck Around Avenue and Find Out Boulevard. Fuck you, Tracy. Oh, and I know that Tracy, I know that she, he, it, they, them, or whatever fucking bullshit pronouns they may be using, is just seething and trying to build a new account to come in. But yes, this is an incredibly nice sheath. This is the factory sheath that this knife came with. Back in the day, Cold Steel used to offer, their offerings were great. This is one of the best knives they ever made. This was a grail. I had one of these before. It was a grail knife. I apologize, guys, but like I said, my New Year's resolution is not to even feature anything that the trolls have to say. But at any rate, so I have to go back up. I have to go back up because if something was, okay, so this is the question from our friend in Saudi Arabia. If something was originally made in the USA, do you think that a copy of it made in another country will be made of the same quality? It depends on what you're talking about. Cold Steel knives used to be made in America. As a matter of fact, I have one. The Cold Steel SRK, my original military issue Cold Steel SRK, made in the USA. They're now made, I think, in Taiwan. They were made, yes, they are made in Taiwan now, as all of them. I've seen some of the new ones, and I don't see a change in quality. I do have to admit that this is an old school non-Securex style sheath. I believe that there's two things that we're talking about. So if you're talking about knives that are being copied, fakes, like if you have this knife right here, which is one of the most counterfeited knives on the market. If you have a knife that is being made as a copy or clone of this knife, you're never going to get one that's as good as the ones that are being made originally because they aren't trying to make a good knife. They're trying to screw you over and make a profit. So two different aspects of that same question. And once again, if you guys didn't see it, I did my Knife of the Year video. It came up New Year's Day. Knife of the Year, you need to go watch it because I did 3 categories this year. I did, and if any of my moderators are here, I want to throw a link up to that video. I did a fixed blade, I did a budget, and I did overall Knife of the Year. Still the best knife I've ever bought. It's not getting as much pocket time because I'm trying to get this carried so that I can do the overall full review. And unfortunately, this thing takes up so much space in your pocket that it's hard to carry this at the same time. And this is not a little knife. This is a 9 1/4 inch knife. This is a big boy. Takes up a lot of space in pocket. There's some other stuff coming. Yeah, I didn't know cold steel knives were ever made in America. King of Knives, yes, they were. They used to be made in America. As a matter of fact, like I said, I think I put it back in the milk crate fixed blades. If you are questioning, that's why it was an issue item. They were made in the USA, I believe. I got this one issued to me in 2001-ish. They were still, some of their knives were still being made in America. Cold steel SRK. This, I mean, now granted, this could have been in the Navy, in the military stock system for a few years. You know, who knows how long it sat on a shelf at Central Issue before it was sent out. But yeah, I've had this for a long time, multiple deployments. It's not as functional as some other knives. It still is a lot like a lot of other combat style knives. It is a sharpened club, generally. As much as I love the tactical style combat knives, even this one was a cold steel R1 Military Classic. Couldn't think of it off the top of my head. This cold steel R1 Military Classic, done in Japan in their original Sanmai 3 VG1. This is an incredible knife. It gets a lot of carry. This spends so much time attached to me. As a matter of fact, this was a gift from one of you guys. And you can see it is basically a licensed, this is a copy of the Randall Model 1 that Cold Steel did. They did have permission to do it, just like the OSS is a licensed copy from a Robert Lovelace design, the OSS and the, let's see, where's the OSS? I'll show you that one. Show you that one. Oh, crap. My buddy's Mark 1 is still here, or Mark 2. The Cold Steel OSS, and now this isn't the sheath that comes with it. This is absolutely not the sheath that it comes with. So Cold Steel OSS, same kind of thing. It is a copy of a Loveless sub-hilt fighter. This one is double-edged. Now, speaking of sheaths, I will tell you now, if you want a sheath made, the best leatherwork I've ever had. Now, I'm going to tell you, this guy did a really good job. This is Savage Sheaths out of Saxon, Virginia. This is a nice, nice sheath for this Taipan dagger. Stellar work. Absolutely the real DJ Rojo. Hundreds. There's literally a milk crate full of fixed blades to my right, a 7-foot set of shelves that are completely shoved full of knives. I have other boxes of knives in my storage room, and there's knives all over this workbench right now. Like literally hundreds. Sabrina, I never told you couldn't stay. But to this is a guy named Michael Spangers. It's Spirit of the Bear on Instagram. You can get a hold of this guy. He makes the most insane sheaths you're ever going to find. This is a custom leather sheath that he made for this knife for me. It's got... Cyprian, you've been here before. I've never kicked you out. You may have gotten put in timeout, but I've never kicked you out. You can stay. But this thing is an incredible bit of leather work. And he does this way, this good, every time. I've had several knives come in from from a friend for review that have had Michael's sheaths on there. And so it's spirit_of_the_bear on Instagram. Reach out to that dude. Tell him I sent you. They are unbelievably good sheaths. This looks it looks like it should be fake, the level of work that's done on this. And guys, if you're here, there's 40 people here, but there's only 34 likes. If you could, I'm not asking you to drop a super chat. I mean, if you want to, that's fine. But all I'm asking is that you drop a like. Hang on a second. I'm curious to see how many views we've had on this so far. Oh, wow. 1,300 views in the first hour. Now, 3V Recon Scout is 100 and... I like the Recon Scout. I'm not a fan of 3V steel. It does require a, a lot of maintenance. That's my only... we did a video one time. We did a video one time where I went through the majority of my collection. I'm not saying the Recon Scout's not worth it. I love the Recon Scout. It's a great, great knife. I like it better than some of their other buoys because of the craton handle, and you know it is a full tang with the overmolded Crayex, I think they call it, this rubberized good. It's a great, great knife for if you want a buoy knife that is a functional buoy knife. If you want something that's fancy, like to add to your collection, get their notchless buoy and get a leather sheath for it and things like that. I love the Recon Scout. I did a video about it. It's one of my best performing videos I've ever done. It was an incredible video. I tested it, I carried it, I used the crap out of it, and I absolutely love it. I'm not a fan of the 3V steel. That's my only concern. If I was going to get one, I would want one that was coated. You know what I mean? I would want one that had like a DLC coating to eliminate some of the issues with rust. Because the fact is, I wouldn't carry it enough. Like this gets carried all the time, so it's in and out of the sheath. It's getting used. It's you know, it's constantly getting stropped. I've knocked the tip off of a couple times, had to use it, but this is a day-to-day carry knife for me. If it was something I'm not going to carry, then you run into the thing that you can't keep it in its sheath because it's going to draw damp and things like that. I just knives. I typically carry a fixed blade daily, but I also carry foldings. What are my thoughts on the Puma buoy? Well, it depends on if you're talking about the Puma. Hey, DJ Rojo. I just happen to have examples of most of the knives that people are going to comment about. If you're talking about a new old stock, like this is an old circa 89, maybe 90. This is great. This one's still made in Germany. The new ones are made in Taiwan. They're nowhere near as good. They're not as good. They don't come with the same sheath. This is a replacement sheath. I have the original sheath for it. They don't come anywhere near as good. So this is an old. I got this new inbox. It was new inbox, new old stock, and they're just beautiful. And it's a great knife. It's a manageable size compared to a lot of other buoy knives. It still does have the overall features of a buoy, but this is a great, great knife. Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, there's one within reach because I've literally got I've got tens of thousands of dollars worth of knives and other stuff in my studio. So yes, including my all of my equipment and all the stuff that's here. And I have the garage door open, so I have a Pew Pew within reach. These are great. If you can get one of the new old stocks, 80s, 90s. Puma started doing their stuff in... No, their knives were made... Puma was made in Germany. So if you can get one of the new old stock, that's still made in Germany, then I recommend them if you can find one. And this sheath is old too. This may actually be the original sheath. The replacement sheath may be in the box. I think this is the original. It's got a good bit of cracking and things on it. No, I do not. I do not have an RPG. But there's, you know, they're great. The old school Puma. If you can get an old Puma like a Hunter's Pal or a Great White Hunter, or the Puma White Hunter and things like that, they're all amazing, amazing knives. But you got to get the older ones. I don't like the. Okay, it's not off topic. We're talking about knives. PM2, incredible. I don't like the Mannix. As a matter of fact, there's only, when you really look at it, there's only a few models from Spyderco that I like. And when I say I like them, I absolutely love them. The Spyderco Police is my favorite Spyderco they've ever made, right? Favorite Spyderco they've ever made. If I had to pick a favorite line of knives from any company, I would have to say the Endura line, which includes the Endura, the Police, the Endella, and a couple other like the Endella, the Delica. The my daughter has the Matriarchs 2 or the Matriarch 2. I love the Police. They're all basically the same handle size, handle shape. They're just different sizes. So I just kind of throw them all together. But this is my favorite of the Spyderco knives, is the Spyderco Police. If I had to pick the best knife that Spyderco makes, it's going to be the Military 2, right? This is the best knife they make. It's the best overall size. It's form and function. It's beautiful and things like that. The best knife they make. But if I had to pick, we're getting back to the PM2, this is the best all-around EDC knife on the market. It's just about the perfect size, perfect blade shape, perfect thickness, perfect handle interaction. If you're looking for something you can use for self-defense, you've got great grip on this where you can get up on the blade. You can use it for piercing, you use it for slashing. Up close self-defense, it's not too big. Beautiful taper on the blade. It still has some belly and some flats, so it's useful for most scenarios. And then you've got just about the best size that you're going to find. And then compression lock, one of the best locks on the market. PM2, probably the best. And I've done that as a video. This is the best for 90, I would say 99% of all knife users. This would be about the perfect knife. And okay, so complaint is the seemingly fragile tip. I've done a lot of stuff with this knife, and it's not that fragile. It does taper a lot. The PM2, the Military 2, they all taper a lot. They definitely do. But you still, here, I'll show you. You still have a good bit of material behind that tip. It doesn't taper as much as you think it does. It's not, it just looks dramatic because of how it tapers. It's really not as fragile as it looks at first glance. If, as a matter of fact, I think that the actual Military has a more fragile tip than the PM2 because it's a longer taper. It's a longer taper, I should say. Fuck. See, Tracy got me going, and now my stutter has returned. I got rid of my stutter a long time ago. It does rear its ugly head sometimes, especially if I'm tired or if I'm stressed, which I am tired and I am stressed. My wife basically hit a pallet on the way to work this morning, or on her way to meet her work friends this morning. What is the best stabby knife? I mean, that's basically what this was built for. It has no other purpose. Like, this isn't a real functional design. That's a pretty stabby one. But I mean, basically any knife is a stabby when you get down to it. I mean, I could stabby with a screwdriver. It's not one of the things. When it comes to Benchmade, how do you feel? Okay. When it comes to Benchmade, I won't fucking buy them. I won't fucking recommend them. And I definitely won't tell people anything about them. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that I have decided that I will never have another Benchmade on the channel. I see them as fucking people. Do I have a Stonefish handy? Cody Broadway. Well, let's see. If I do, it would be in this big box of fixed blade knives. I'm pretty sure that my Stonefish has returned from the person that borrowed it. I do believe it's in here, I think. Pretty sure. Yeah, there it is. Let's put those back. Ah. Stuff everywhere. Yes. That's my Stonefish design. Hey, DT, you know what I saw? I saw you getting blocked because you're fucking stupid. Fucking trolls, man. DT. Fucking idiots. Yeah, this is my design that I made for a, I didn't, okay, how do I explain this? I didn't ever like the combat knives we were ever issued, and I wanted something different. And so I designed a knife that met the requirements I want, which was still fit for fighting if you needed to, had all the trappings of a fighting knife, but was a little bit shorter, a little bit easier to manage. You could do camp tasks with it, but still had, you know, if you want it in a reverse grip, you've got jimping there. It's got the redacted scales so that you've got a skull breaker or glass breaker, however you want to look at it. But then you've also got the benefit of a double thumb ramp going both ways so you can get up on it if you're doing finer tasks, things like that. Didn't Benchmade make a knife that has the Spyderco? Yes. Okay, so if you ever go and watch, they did make the Mariner. So Benchmade technically started, how do I say this? So Benchmade technically, no, that was Sal Glesser at Spyderco. I'm trying to think. They did, and I'm getting them mixed up because Spyderco, Sal Glesser at Spyderco made the Mariner 2 for Bob Truzzola. So if you haven't watched it, I'm really good friends with Bob Truzzola, super famous, world famous knife maker, knife designer. I did a full video interview with him, and we talked about that. Benchmade, I think Benchmade made it for Spyderco because Sal took it on, but didn't have the capabilities of doing it, and then had. So Sal worked with the guy that owned and what turned into Benchmade. They all three worked together to get the Mariner, which was Bob Truzzola's first like production knife. So it's a really cool story. I would have to go back and watch it again. It's been almost a year since I did that video with Bob. Was this? Oh, Cody. Yeah, yeah. It's a great knife. Here's the thing. It's every bit as big as you would want for a fighting knife, right? Every bit as big as you would want for a fighting knife. You absolutely can use this. I've taken martial arts for years. I was in the military for my entire adult life. I know how to use a knife. I know how to use it to cause devastating injury. But the fact is, it's also functional enough to be carried on a daily basis. It's got a blade shape you can use. It's really functional. As a matter of fact, if you're a big guy like me, that's a pocket clip. I carry this in my pocket. It's a great little knife. I'm really proud of it. I wish it had done better. I may work on another version of this knife. There may be a 2.0 version. If you can find them, I believe my buddy bought the very last one of these that was available anywhere. You may be able to find them at some smaller vendors, but this is the WE Knives Stonefish. There was one left on Amazon. Well, how about that? You want to talk about cheap? I just, so that knife we talked about earlier that I said was cheap, felt cheap, looked cheap, it fell off the workbench. How about that shit? You know what? I don't think it was actually glued in very well because I put it in and it doesn't want to fall out. That is some hot trash right there. Huh. Guess what else? Now it's off center. This is a piece of hot trash. That's why, you know what? That's why I fucking hate Kershaw. I hate Kershaw and I don't like ZT. Well, it was 20 CV as well. It just hit the market. It wasn't ready for fixed blades at that exact moment. It released in 2025, I think it would do a lot better. Why is it auto-correcting hat, not hate, not like? I don't know. Kershaw Blur was, I had one, and I think the leak, and the chive were better knives. I really do, but I didn't hate the leak. Or I'm sorry, I didn't hate the Blur. I had one, and I will say Kershaw was pretty cool. My daughter was a baby when I had that. She was little. And she picked it up and she like somehow I'd left it and she got it. She was little. She hadn't even started. She was walking, but I mean she was little. And she dropped it on the floor off the couch. Like she knocked it off the couch. It was on the arm of the couch. I think I'd fallen asleep on the couch and put it on the arm of the couch. Anyway, she knocked it off the couch because she was sitting on my chest and it fell and it snapped open and it broke the tip off on the tile. And Kershaw had me send them that knife so that they could take a look at the steel and see if it was a flaw in the steel, because I told them what had happened because I hadn't had it that long. And they sent me a free knife. So Kershaw isn't okay. I'm not saying anything about the company. I just don't like their knives. They feel cheap and shitty. And the whole thing was Kershaw was budget knives made in America. That knife's made in China. So, hello from Oklahoma. Drew, how's your day going? It's going. I mean, I haven't got to start the new job yet. We're doing this. It's the first live feed of the new year because because my dad died on Christmas, the couple days before Christmas, I start drinking rum and I don't stop until after New Year's. Oh, Drew. Oh, Drew. Oh, bye, Tracy. Tracy's a bitch. Hello from Oklahoma. Well, hello back. Fucking trolls. I'll show that one. Levi Cole. So, I honestly, I just can't quit messing around with this knife. I just can't. Okay, now you're going too far. There we go. Fucking trolls. This thing is just, it's incredible how versatile something this big can be. ZT, I've never liked Kershaw knives. And I only ever had, I think I had one ZT that I owned. I had an what was it? It was the old school 0300, ZT 0300 BLK. And it was that Ken Onion and Mick Strider collab that they did before Mick started his own brand. And it was a fun knife, but the problem I have with a lot of Kershaw knives and ZT knives is a lot of them, especially at that time, were the fact that they were all they were assisted opening. And I've never liked assisted opening knives. And I've gotten to where I just feel that if you, well, thank you, Stacy. I like them too, obviously. It's just gotten to the point where I feel as though if you're doing assisted opening, it's because you don't know how to make a knife smooth. So I just, like this knife, not assisted opening, and it runs on washers. If you can't make, at this point, if you can't make a knife run smooth on bearings, and you have to add an assisted opening to it, then I'm going to put you in the same category as this garbage knife, which is assisted opening, that came from Temu. This thing's a piece of shit. And I'm immediately going to put you in that same category. Like my most favorite knife? I'll show you my two most favoritist knives, because they're kind of still in a tie. My most favoritist knife is the Amphibian by Microtech Knives. And I had someone comment on this video like, well, they're making a lot of their knives are being made in China now. And I was like, no, they have one model. One model. He's like, that's probably not American made, it's probably being made in China because they moved. It's like, no, they made one model. So this is American made. They made one model in China. That's it. It's the only, it was not you. I could go find it. And then my other favorite knife, because they're really close. Now that's, here's the thing. This is to put it in, and I do this because it puts this in perspective. Stacy Young, you're a cunt. But for those of you that are actually here to watch, this is the $1,000 Grimsmo Norseman. So the great knife. Probably the gold standard when it comes to construction and machining and just overall knife construction. Probably the best. But it doesn't beat this for the price. Like at $300, this is as good. The only reason that this one is so cool, and what is so cool, oh, I banned them. They're gone. It's the same person. What's happening is they have to build a new account. Like that is a level of uselessness that just amazes me, that someone is that, you know, they're the kind of people, like, those people are the kind of people that brighten a room with their absence. It looks hard to sharpen with traditional setup. What do I use? So if you're going to use a fixtured system, you're going to want to find one that that uses, I'm trying to pull one out, narrow stones like this. These are 1/2-inch stones. So the recurve does become problematic for a lot of people. I use these and sharpen freehand. You know, I basically put the stone in my hand and sharpen with these. But you want something narrow to get up into the curve. That's where you run into problems with recurves. That's where people start having problems with the sharpening on a recurve, because it can be problematic. So well, I thank you very much. Most of the sharpening systems now come with a narrow stone because they realize that their wider stones don't get into it. The problem with a recurve is, let's get that knife back out. The problem with a recurve, oh, we can do this one. The problem with a recurve is if you try to use a standard stone, you can't hit the lower area. And what happens is you basically are grinding this area and this area down till they try and till you almost get it flat. Yeah, but Dad was a great guy. I was talking with my sister, and we were joking about my dad, and I was talking about the, you know, all older brothers when they meet the brother-in-law for the first time. I met my brother-in-law for the first time. I was home, and he was asleep on the couch. My dad walked in, and I was standing there looking at him. My dad looked at me, and he goes, "Yeah, I know, boy, but..." My dad was like, "I know, boy, but what you're thinking about, but it'll make your sister cry, so why don't you go do something else?" And I was like, "Yeah, he knows. He knows I'm thinking about beating him in the head." No one, your baby sister just is like, they're always going to be your baby sister. And then when they get married and you meet the significant other for the first time, you're like, debating whether is the ground hard enough that I can't dig a hole? Yeah, it's too cold to dig a hole, and I don't have a post hole attachment for the tractor anymore, and things like that. Do I ever get milk in my beard? Constantly. It's never the beard, it's the mustache. I will tell you, if you do have a big bushy mustache and you're drinking a glass of milk, wash your face off really good. Because if you don't, and you just wipe it out, later in the day you're going to be smelling spoiled milk, and you're trying to figure out why. It's because you didn't rinse your mustache out good enough. I have a fairly bushy mustache. Every once in a while it'll dribble down in your beard. But you know, hey, that's what the sink is for. Have I ever tried the red NOS? No, but I have tried the grape NOS. I didn't know they had a red one. Yeah, the sharpening. The sharpening a recurve. And this is not a strong recurve on this. It's just a mild recurve. It's a light one. Something with a heavier curve to it, like a hawkbill. Those are going to be much more difficult to sharpen. Now you can, I will tell you, yeah, I didn't know that they had a red NOS. I've had grape NOS, the purple one. I've never had the red one. Holt versus Grimsmo, you know, Tracy's back. Guess what, Tracy? I bet your birth certificate was just an apology from the condom factory. Bye. Useless fucking cunt. Tracy's family tree is wreath. Your family tree looked like the Olympic rings. I know how to roast. I was in the military. It comes easy. I do have a stutter. And I've had it since I was a kid. I went to speech therapy when I was a kid in school, and it pretty much went away. And it does happen, especially on live feeds, because I get going and then things just, you know. Yeah, the Vinev Gemini stones I've heard are great. I mean, it's not a big stutter, but, you know, some people are stupid, like Tracy. I bet Tracy looks like the kind of person that would owe their grandmother money. I can't help it. I live in your basement and I game all day. I don't have time to make money, Grandma. If it was my grandma, she'd be like, I don't care. Get the fuck out. Oh, Tracy. They work great. Yeah, I'm trying. I think I'm getting some. One of my subscribers, one of my paying members, said they were going to send me some of the Gemini stones, and I can't remember who it was. And I am going to try them. If not, when I get, because I'm supposed to be starting a new job soon. When I start getting it, because I got laid off. You guys know I got laid off back in August. And I will tell you, finding a job has been difficult. You can use beeswax. There's other things you can use. You can use mineral oil. Olive oil works pretty well, you know, if you just put a thin coat on. The thing that works about the best, and you don't have to buy anything special. I specifically got the beeswax. This was not necessarily for knives. I got this for zippers on things. This was for zippers. We had some bags and things that the zippers were really stiff on, and a couple other of my like gear bags and things like that for my electronics if I go somewhere and film somewhere else. The zippers on those bags were really stiff. I got this and I was like, I can use this on knives. Vaseline is absolutely one of the best things you can put on a knife. If you have a wife or a daughter, uh, I guarantee you will have Vaseline around. They use it on their lips, they use it on their cheeks, they use it on their hands. Vaseline is one of the best things that you can put on a knife as protectant. It goes on nice and easy. It wipes off nice and easy. It is food safe. It is, you know, hypoallergenic. You don't have to worry about it. It's not going to allow rust, and you just put a thin coat on it. And if you've got a tub, one of those big tubs of Vaseline, like Tracy lets her boyfriend, like lets his boyfriend use on him, absolutely, absolutely will protect your knives for long periods of time. I used to use it when I would have customers send straight razors in for sharpening, because straight razors are typically high carbon steel and they rust really, really easily. And it absolutely is something that's going to protect them for a long time. So when I would have customers come in after I would do the sharpening, I'd wipe them down really well. And then I'd put a coat, a light coat of Vaseline on them and then ship them back so that in transit, like when you send something like that, it's going to go on an airplane, it's going to go up and it's going to come back down. So it's going to get cold and then it's going to get warm and it's going to get condensation and things on it. And so to prevent rust, just a thin coat of Vaseline on it. We got one that was held for review. What was this? My favorite night channel. Somebody put. Mix it with some mineral oil or coconut oil. It works better. It coats easier. Yeah, it does. Beeswax is great. Do I have any super big knives? I have some fairly large knives, like this folding knife right here. This is a 12 1/4 overall. This is 14. This is not mine. It's on loan. 14-inch folding knife. I got some, if you want to look at fixed blades, I've got, somebody asked about large knives. This is probably one of the biggest fixed blades I've got. This is the Grizzly by Work Tough Knives. Absolutely a beast. This is a true survival knife. But this you can take out and use it as a hatchet. You can use it as a field knife. You get a hold of it and you can use it as a plane. Got a lot of flat. It's nice and super, super sharp. That's a big knife. I got a lot of big knives. And as a matter of fact, the biggest folding knife I've ever owned is coming soon. There's a bigger version of this. There's a bigger version of this, and I got drunk and bought it on New Year's Eve. It should be here tomorrow. Sometime tomorrow, I will have the largest folding knife I've ever seen in my life show up at my door. This thing is incredible, though. The fact that this is still so usable and functional, even at this incredible size. I'm curious how I'm going to feel about the XL version, the one size bigger than this. So this is 12 1/4. This is a 12 1/4 inch folding knife, and there is a 15-inch. There's a 15-inch version of this knife that will be arriving tomorrow. What was this? What knife in CPM MagnaCut or 3V should I get for around? I don't know what that is. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of MagnaCut, and I think 3V is a little too rusty. I don't like, okay, so I don't like the S35 VN and micarta version of the Espada. So I got the same G10 and AUS10 version of the XL because, to tell you the truth, I'm not a fan of S35 VN. I found that the cheaper option, and on top of that, I've handled the large Espada, like picked one up and put it immediately down, and it had the curved, the curved micarta handles and the steel bolsters. It's more expensive. It's not in a steel I want. So do you use the green screen often? I use the green screen for the intros and outros to videos, and I'm going to start doing, because I have another YouTube channel. We're not going to talk about it here because it is where I talk about like political stuff, but it's used a lot for that, for backdrops and things like that. It adds an element of professional to some of the videos, just to be able to have that intro, have a background and things like that, instead of it just looking like my garage. So do I still have the dumb belt knife? Dumb belt knife. I have a lot of dumb knives. I don't know which knife we're talking about. Oh. There's Tracy again. Tracy. What's up, Knives and Pizza? Listen, man. No, I don't want to. I don't want to listen to you. So are you going to continue? Okay, I won't block you. Tracy's a boy lady. Seems like. Okay, I like knives. Let's go for it. Okay, I'm waiting. Fucking Houdini. How'd you get out of that fucking knot that they tied in the condom? What's your issue with the MagnaCut? I don't like MagnaCut because it's got such a fine grain structure that when you're sharpening, so when you've got a super fine grain structure, it's good for certain things. So a super fine grain structure means that if you take it up to a super high grit, it's going to be super fine. The micro striations are going to be super fine. For a lot of things, I find that to be problematic. It's too slick when you're trying to cut things like line and rope and things like that. Now, for certain things, like woodworking tools and things like that, are one of those things that, see, Stacy's parents, if they got divorced, would still have to go to family reunions. It's just, if you're using a woodworking tool like a chisel or things like that, that super fine grain structure means there's going to be less sanding and finishing, because the actual cut surface is very smooth because the edge is very fine and very smooth. Straight razors, the finer this grain structure of the steel, the easier it's going to cut, the smoother it's going to cut, the less pulling, the less drag, the less surface irritation you're getting on your skin. For a knife, I like a steel that I can take up into, well, I didn't see your question. There were so many trolls, I didn't see your question. So you may have to ask it again. Sorry. On a steel that you can take up into the finer grit, right? Like, say, 14C28N, where you can take it up to a super fine grit where you've got less surface scratching, where you're going to have less drag at the edge, but then you still have a lot of the carbides that are big, irregular carbides. The edge is going to perform and bite better at a higher grit than steels like, so like if I want MagnaCut to perform the same as the edge that I currently have on this knife, I have to stay about 1,000 grit or lower, right? I don't have to do that with certain steels because of the size of their carbides and the irregularity of them. They stay aggressive at the apex without giving up the cutting ability. So I didn't see, so Zhao Fu, I didn't see your question. I really don't. No, the Work Tough Little Evil is heavy. I don't recommend it. The same thing that I said, like people are like, oh, that's a good knife for self-defense. I think it's too big, it's too hard to deploy, and it's too, I don't know, Tobias, you could ask Tracy. I'm sure Tracy will be able to tell you. He's come out, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, that's why he has Vaseline on his bedstand, because you could go visit him. What knife should I choose if I need a self-defense knife? Not. I will show you. Starting a knife sharpening business, it's time consuming. I mean, it just depends. Like, I would say I don't recommend it. There's so many people that are doing it out there, and there's so many things out there now that are just easy to maintain your knives yourself, that I don't think it's going to be a viable business. I would say back to self-defense. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, the Little Evil or this great big knife. I don't. This is probably the best choice you're going to have for a self-defense knife in a fixed blade. One of the best, I should say. Picalls are really good. I have a folding knife that is going to be something great for self-defense. If you want one. And it is a Picall. If you can find these, I know that there's another run of these coming. Dirk told me that they're coming. This is the Dirk Pinkerton Inversion, which is a folding Picall. So this is a knife that goes in your pocket. This way, it comes off. I'm going to try and, I know that there's probably comments in the way, but it sits in your pocket like that. Wave feature off, and then that blade drops into a drag and pierce. So this is something that is very, very similar to a fixed blade Picall, and this is going to be something that's very, very good for self-defense. That's basically its sole purpose. This does not have any other real use other than self-defense. So you can also deploy it that way. So, yeah, this is by far one of the best self-defense folding knives ever. It's got several different attachments. It's got a different pocket clip. You can take the ring off if you want. You can take this wave feature off, but this is what makes it so good, is when it's in this configuration and it's left or right-handed. You can adjust the depth of carry a little bit on this because there's 3 holes. You can move it. You can move your pocket clip down a little bit if you want to sit right a little higher in the pocket. What's the most useless knife? This one. It's useless. Doesn't serve any purpose. It just sits on my workbench because it was a gift. So I personally find a lot of people recommend these great big knives that are going to be unwieldy. If you're carrying something for self-defense, you want something that's in about this size factor, right? In about this size factor. So this knife, you can see how the knife, basically the blade on this knife is put on exactly opposite of this one, and it's used exactly opposite of this one. So this one's slashing this way, this one's slashing, this way, right? So clinch pick, I mean, it just depends on what you want to have. I've taken martial arts for years. I'm comfortable carrying an edged weapon as a safe, but this is probably one of the best fixed blades you're going to get, for not just because this is great for self-defense, but it's also in that size factor and form factor and blade shape that it's still a very good day-to-day carry knife. I will say this one is problematic for me here in California because I have to carry a knife. If I'm going to carry a knife, a fixed blade, it's got to be outside of clothing. So this one I run the risk of getting in trouble with by carrying it a lot of places. A lot of times I don't care. I'm not doing anything that I'm going to get stopped by the police. But keep in mind, knife laws in your local area. This, for me, scout carry, that's the coolest thing about this. It's got this nice clip. It's easy to scout carry. It goes on. You don't have to take your belt off. That's one of the nicer things about this. You can just pull your shirt up and then just spread that open a little bit, like Tracy. Tracy likes it when his boyfriend does that. You can just spread it open a little bit and then put it down over the belt. And it rides really comfortable. I'm going to tell you right now, I've taken my pants off to go to bed, and knowing I'm going to wear the same jeans the next day. And I don't take my belt and everything. And you just drop, and you hear something thump, and I'm like, oh, that's right. That's still on my belt from this morning, and completely forgot it was there. Folding pickle, you're using your entire lat muscle. Yeah, you're dragging into it. Knives and pizza. The other thing too is it's a much more intuitive action. Like if somebody is on top of you, you're not gonna try and punch them in the face. That's not gonna work. You're gonna try and punch them in the ribs where you can generate some force, and you're probably gonna like hammer fist and beat on. That's the instinctive way to do it. And if you just add that to it, I've now put a bunch of holes in you, you're leaking, and I can do that drag motion and just do devastating damage with this. I carry this knife a lot. Over the holidays, wasn't going anywhere. It lives in that knife bag that's behind me. So the Brits have infinite knives, no offense. I don't understand. I don't want to get into politics, but I don't understand what's going on in Britain. There's guys that are attacking families with knives, and they get like a couple weeks. And then someone makes an Instagram post and gets like 20 years. I'm like, I don't get it. Thoughts on the K-Bar TDI knives? I have one. Believe it's over here. I have one somewhere, and I don't carry it. And it's mainly because I don't like the sheath attachment and things on it. Here's another good knife, if you can ever find one. They're discontinued now. Here's a nice little fixed blade knife. This is the Acheron Knives L'Ascension designed by Bastian over at Bastinelli Knives, and done by Viper in Italy. This thing's a great knife. It gets carried a lot. It's just about a perfect small little knife for like day-to-day tasks. I think this one has kind of overtaken it, but it's still a great knife. This is just a really good knife, comparative to fixed blade knife of the year right here. I think all of my knives are badass. All of my knives are badass. I do have one. This is a badass little knife. This one you can buy. You can buy this with my Amazon link. This is a knife that I designed. This is the Sea Snake. And I have a prototype that Jared just did a video about. I don't think so. I don't think I'll get the new Cold Steel Frenzy. I've seen the Frenzy. I'm not a big fan of the Frenzy. It's just not, I don't think, how many Temu knives did I have? I bought 5. And I have to tell you, I'm currently testing one of them because I'm surprisingly impressed with the knife that so you guys don't know. If you don't know, I reached out to a buddy of mine. We were talking about it, and he said that if I paid him to do it, like if I paid for the items, he would order some things on Temu so that I wasn't going, so I'd be surprised by all the knives. All the knives that came from Temu, like all 5 of them, they pretty much were kind of trash. Except for this one. This is not a great knife. But for $20, I was kind of surprised. For $20, this Temu knife, and I was like, you know, they can't all be garbage. Don't know the brand, don't know anything. It's still not a great knife, but I mean, it's got a better sheath than some $100 knives that I've had come in. So I don't know. I'm kind of impressed with it. It does have some problems. Are the Beretta knives any good? Typically, I'm not a fan of like the branded like Smith & Wesson, Beretta. I don't know. I haven't seen one. But I have been woefully disappointed by any knife that was branded from a firearms manufacturer. Right? H&K, not that good. Smith & Wesson, Extreme Duty, not that good. As a matter of fact, pretty bad. So I don't know. Now I do know that H&K has made some good knives, and it depends on which ones you get. But I just don't. I've never gotten a good one. That's what I should say. I just haven't ever gotten a good knife from a company that was branded by a firearms company. You know what I mean? There's just always problems. Always problems. Beretta knives, any good? Yeah, like I said, I already read that one. So, but yeah, we'll have some, I think tomorrow, because I've been carrying this a good bit since I did the disassembly. Tomorrow, maybe we'll take a couple knives apart so you can see what's inside, how they work. Like this, this is interesting how this works inside. And I mean, I would have to look at, see a couple other knives. Like maybe I'll take this one apart and show you this one. I showed the pointer finger. No, it wasn't my social finger. Mid-tech kind of deal, always sacrifice something for the price they are sold at. I mean, it's not even that. They just basically capitalize. Smith & Wesson, those Extreme Duty knives. Okay, Knives and Pizza, go check out the video that I put up yesterday. It's got this, and I'm looking up at it. It's like, cool. The video I put up yesterday, I polished the parts in this to make it smoother because it was fairly coarse. These break in over time very well. And like I said, the Triad lock's about the only lock that just continues to get better, gets stronger, gets smoother, but doesn't compromise its internals. This one had a super fine blast finish on it, and it smoothed itself up just beautifully after my buddy got it. And the spring on this one has softened over time as well. So this one is going to, over time, break in more. I just wanted to give it a jump start. So, especially on a big knife like this, it's nice to have it be smooth. So I am going to have to, like, because I did all that work and I've been playing with it and it's dirty. I'm pretty sure that I can take it apart and clean it up. I mean, I can see there's a bunch of gunk and stuff in there. So I may take this apart just to clean up a little bit of the gunk in there and then show you guys like the internals of how a Triad lock works. But I actually do that in the video that went up yesterday on Sunday. So check that one out. It's my latest video. And doing this with a triad lock is absolutely the best thing you could do to smooth one up. They will polish themselves up over time. But like I said, you can get yourself a jump start by just doing a few things. Now you can, if you've got some like lapping paste or something that's water soluble, that you can wash out really well, you could put that on the blade tang here where the lock bar rubs, and it will do it itself. So Ted M, what did you ask? Oh, yeah. Like I said, I don't know. I've shied away from Smith & Wesson branded those knives the Extreme Duty, and they're just cheap garbage knives like you would get at a gas station. They basically are. Do I use a knife dump? No, I use a knife the way it was designed to be used. Different knives have different uses. It's just, you see people that do dumb stuff. Do you use a dumb knife? No. I mean, like, if it's dumb, for me, a knife is a tool, and it's an everyday tool. It's probably the best tool. It's the first tool I'm going to grab for anything. Historically, one of the most important tools of mankind. And it absolutely, having a knife that isn't useful is stupid. I grew up on a farm. I do have a lot of really fancy knives, but they're still typically in a useful form factor. $1,000 knife, right? I used the crap out of this because it's very useful. I stopped carrying it because I was wearing out what was my grail knife, right? And I was like, I need to like not use this as much. And now that it's out of its case, it's probably going in my pocket, which means it's probably going to get used, and then I'm going to have to resharpen it. But as a matter of fact, that's going in my pocket. I love this knife. So having a dumb knife just doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't have to be like a super high-end knife to make sense. Like I said, this is a $55 knife. And I use the crap out of this one. That's why it's on my workbench, because it's a great knife. So if I was to think of a dumb knife, I would be thinking of something that's like, not to offend anyone, but a Balisong. That's a dumb knife. It doesn't get me anywhere. It's illegal most places. It can be dangerous. It's difficult to deploy, and it's a plaything. It's a fidget toy. I understand. It's a sport, and I can appreciate that. I just can't find a use for it in my day-to-day life. The TRC Urban Tactical. I like the TRC knives. The TRC knives, if you guys haven't seen the video I did about the TRC missile that I got in, incredible knife. Incredible knife. I don't agree with their heat treat that they did on M390. And people are like, oh, it's tougher that way. I disagree. Custom heat treat that I did on 20 CV, we ran it at 64 to 65 Rockwell. Never had it. And I made knives for SEALs. I made knives for guys in the military. I made knives for guys that were putting them through their paces. Army guys that deployed, made them custom. I did custom heat treat. Never once did I have a broken blade, a chipped blade, a broken tip, any of those things. And I was doing super high hard heat treats on 20 CV. So people are saying running 20 CV at a lower gets you this toughness. It really doesn't. It just reduces some of the benefits like the edge retention and things like that. Yeah, I'm retired Navy. It reduces edge retention, some of the impact resistance, the toughness that you get by pushing that steel to its higher registers. And I argue that, and people are like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. I was like, I made knives out of that steel. 20 CV, M390, they're the same steel. They're basically the same thing. I made knives out of that and did it in a fashion that was way higher, almost 10, like 6 to 10 points higher than what I think, if I remember right, that knife was run at. No, it might have been 5 points. It's it's one of those things that, like, it's a great knife, but I question the heat treat. TRC, their quality of machining and grinding and all that stuff is perfect. They're a Ukrainian knife company, if I remember correctly, or I can't remember. They're in that whole Balkan region. Great knives. Am I live feeding tomorrow? I do not know yet. I really do need to film a bunch of stuff, and it's already 12:20 here, which means it's gonna be late by the time I get done, and I have to clean everything up. It's been a mess here. I haven't filmed anything in a few days, so hey, what's my favorite football team? It's the Cleveland Browns. No, I mean the Cincinnati Reds. I mean no, that's a silly question. Arm hurts. So yeah, I may live feed tomorrow, but I do need to get some stuff filmed and edited, and I have some footage I'm trying to recover. I filmed a bunch of stuff. I say that I haven't filmed. I did film a bunch of stuff, and like I said, the footage got lost because the camera settings got changed when I did the firmware update, and it changed all my settings, and the footage was crap, and the stabilization was bad. So I think I got everything figured out now, and it's actually filming in 4K and adjusted sharpness, and I'm just not going to ever update the firmware. I don't need to. I really don't need to. So, all right, guys. No, it's not a GoPro. So I have a link to it if you guys want to check these out. There's a link to these down below. This is the Insta360 Ace Pro. I film all the way up into 8K. It's better than a GoPro. I've never had it overheat. I get a lot more life out of the batteries than I ever did out of any GoPro I borrowed or tried to use. And so they are a great, great camera. They're just more user-friendly than a GoPro. And like I said, incredible clarity when you get your settings correct. Incredible clarity coming out of this with this. It's got a Leica lens, and it's just super. So yeah, and then you've got this fully adjustable screen. So depending on what you're filming, you can look down. If you're filming yourself, you can look up. You can use hand gestures and things like that. Hey, Dave! 2A Dave is here. Dave's coming down this Sunday, I believe, right? Is it this Sunday you're coming down that we talked about, the 12th? Yeah, this Sunday. Dave will be down here Sunday. This coming Sunday, the 12th. Yes. Today is the 6th. Sunday is the 12th. That's what we talked about because you said the 11th, and I was like, no, Sunday's the 12th. That's what we talked about. I distinctly remember that on the phone. Oh, shit, you're right. Yeah, I know I am. Dave may have had some head trauma as a child. Maybe didn't get enough oxygen in the womb. At any rate, guys, I'm going to end this. Dave, I'll talk to you a little bit later. You can give me a call when I'm done. He's working nights. So, what, you don't trust my other opinions? You only trust my steel opinions? That hurts. Knives and pizza, that hurt. I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. I'll tell you, I would listen to what Laren says. I mean, he did come up with MagnaCut. I might not like MagnaCut, but like, you know, I think he's a pretty smart fella. He's a smart feller. Unlike Tracy, who's a fart smeller. Tracy, if you're watching, I hope you get a very uncomfortable rash in a very private place. With that, guys, I love you all, and I'll talk to you next time. I will maybe be live tomorrow. I do not know yet. So I will see you guys in the next video.